No movie genre loves a franchise quite like horror. And if a single horror film hits at the box office, you can bet your bottom dollar that the studio will milk it to death, until audiences are sick of seeing it and the grosses fall off a cliff. Ongoing horror franchises tend to ebb and flow from high points to low, and then back to high again if they're lucky, if the producers can find a filmmaker with a killer idea to pull it back from the brink. Consider how Halloween 2018 rescued the IP from decades of poor critical performance, or Saw X delivered the series' worthiest sequel in many years. These films made these franchises feel relevant once more, and got fans excited about them again. And if the following upcoming movies deliver on their potential, they could be next for the glow-up treatment. I'm Ellie for What Culture, and these are 10 upcoming horror movies that might save franchises. Number 10, Mike Flanagan's The Exorcist. It's frankly impressive that the Exorcist franchise has delivered so many dud sequels, prequels, and spin-offs from William Friedkin's original 1973 masterpiece. Aside from the underappreciated The Exorcist 3, the series has struck out every single time. Most recently with David Gordon Green's woefully undercooked legacy sequel Exorcist Believer. With Warner Brothers taking their two planned sequels to Believer off the docket following its critical and commercial underperformance, it seemed like the studio was putting the IP on ice for a good while. But not quite. And to their credit, they came back swinging with one of the few announcements which could possibly get horror fans interested in The Exorcist once more. Last May, the great Mike Flanagan was confirmed to be writing and directing an Exorcist reboot, which has been deemed a radical new take on the franchise. Given Flanagan's penchant for horror that's both nerve-jangling and deeply character-driven, he's pretty much a dream choice to rejuvenate The Exorcist for a new generation. If Flanagan, of all people, can't pull it off, then it's probably safe to call The Exorcist a dead IP. Number 9, Thread, an Insidious Tale. It's fair to say that after 5 movies, the Insidious franchise feels totally out of juice. However, considering that 2023's Insidious: The Red Door was actually the series' highest grossing movie to date, of course Blumhouse isn't stopping the gravy train. Rather than continue the incredibly tired and played out story revolving around the Lambert family though, the already shot 6th Insidious is actually a spin-off called Thread, an Insidious Tale. This tale will seek to extend the bounds of the supernatural horror franchise, starring Mandy Moore and Kumail Nanjiani as a couple who use a spell to travel back in time and prevent their daughter's death, with presumably grim consequences. Insidious desperately needs new voices, and given that Thread is being written and directed by Jeremy Slater, co-creator of the Umbrella Academy TV series, it's easy to be optimistic. Moreover, spinning Insidious off into an anthology format is a great idea, because the central story is beyond mouldy at this point. If it's going to endure long term, it needs to try new things. Number 8, I Know What You Did Last Summer. In all honesty, the I Know What You Did Last Summer franchise was never really any good to begin with. The first film received mixed reviews from critics, while the 2 sequels were thoroughly panned. Furthermore, though the original film was a commercial smash hit, first sequel I Still Know What You Did Last Summer was a big ol' flop, and standalone threequel I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer didn't even get a theatrical release, going direct to video. The last movie came out in 2006, and it's surprising that Sony has waited almost an entire 20 years to put together a 4th film. This new movie will be going the legacy sequel route, bringing Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prinze Jr. back in supporting roles opposite a younger main cast. Confusingly titled I Know What You Did Last Summer, this new film is coming from skilled rising director Jennifer Caton Robinson, and a fresh, hungry young voice could be just what the series needs, while delivering a soft reboot of sorts that follows in the footsteps of 2022's 5th Scream movie. Well, here's hoping, anyway. Number 7, Zach Cregger's Resident Evil. Though the live-action Resident Evil films have been an undeniable commercial success, with $1.28 billion in box office receipts across the 7 entries to date, fans remain consistently frustrated by their actual quality. Aside from Paul W.S. Anderson's original 2002 film, which ironically is the least source-faithful movie, fans have had few kind words to say about the franchise. And after 2021's reboot Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City underperformed commercially, it seemed like the IP might be put on ice for a while. But not quite. Back in January, Barbarian director Cregger boarded a second cinematic Resident Evil reboot. And given the quality of Cregger's debut, he's honestly one of the few filmmakers who could actually inspire much confidence in an 8th live-action Resident Evil picture. Cregger is reportedly netting a $20 million payday, and production has been fast-tracked for a September 2026 release, suggesting enormous studio confidence in the director's ability to deliver an adaptation that's finally worthy of the beloved video game source material. Honestly, if Cregger can't pull it off, Capcom might want to consider just sticking to the video games. Number 6. Predator Badlands. The Predator franchise has had a wildly inconsistent history at the box office, with the original movie being a smash hit, Predator 2 hugely underperforming, Predators posting a solid return, Shane Black's Woeful the Predator flopping, and most recently Prey not even getting a theatrical release. Though Prey was well received by critics and largely deemed a return to form for the series, many lamented that it was sent direct to streaming around the world, when the quality and production values suggested that it would have benefited from a big screen bow, and likely turned a solid profit. Thankfully, 20th Century Studios has listened to fans, as the upcoming Predator Badlands will be releasing in cinemas on November 7th, with Prey director Dan Trachtenberg returning to helm a future-set sci-fi story starring Elle Fanning. In many respects, Badlands will be a test of the series' ongoing viability in the theatrical environment, and if it's anywhere close to the quality of Prey, then it'll hopefully restore the series' good name with audiences en masse. That's not to ignore the fact that Trachtenberg has also already shot another still untitled Predator film, which is supposed to release on streaming sometime before Badlands, which presumably means pretty soon. 2 Predator films in a single year. How did we ever get so lucky? Number 5. Cloverfield 2. It's truly baffling that an IP as distinctive and memorable as Cloverfield has been left in the doldrums for the better part of a decade. The original J.J. Abrams produced found footage film was a viral phenomenon in 2008, and its success prompted Abrams and director Matt Reeves to quickly talk up a possible sequel. Yet that film never materialized, with the series instead venturing into spin-off territory with the very good 10 Cloverfield Lane and very not good The Cloverfield Paradox. That second spin-off was released in February 2018, shortly before Abrams confirmed that Cloverfield 2 was indeed happening. In 2022, Babak Anvari was announced to be directing a script from Joe Barton, and in a recent interview, Anvari implied that things were continuing to move forward. Producer Reeves has suggested that fans should expect Cloverfield 2 to only be revealed shortly before its release, in step with previous films in the series. And if it can get back to the quality of the first 2 films, it could very well re-establish Cloverfield as a truly tantalizing horror IP, rather than a monument of untapped potential. Number 4. Anaconda. There's a distinct what the hell sure energy surrounding the new Anaconda movie, which is the first entry into the Serpentine action horror franchise since 2015's Lake Placid vs. Anaconda. This new film aims to pivot the franchise into full-blown comedy horror territory, with Jack Black and Paul Rudd leading the cast, while Tom Gormican serves as co-writer and director. It's a reboot that feels very much like a we have nothing to lose gambit, considering that Anaconda as an IP has been in the toilet for the better part of 2 decades. After the original J-Lo starring romp and its standalone successor both hit at the box office despite naff reviews, Anaconda 3 Offspring inexplicably premiered on the Sci-Fi Channel, starring David Hasselhoff no less. This new Anaconda would have to be unthinkably awful to dent the brand's rep any further then. And if it can deliver cartoonish gore in a darkly hilarious package, think Alexander Aja's 2010 Piranha remake, then it could very well bring the DOA creature feature franchise back to life. Number 3. Lee Cronin's The Mummy. It still seems scarcely real that Universal tried to reboot the Mummy franchise with Tom Cruise as recently as 2017. Yet that attempt to reimagine the classic horror franchise as a generic action tentpole property was a resounding flop with audiences. Rumours then swirled that Brendan Fraser might be lured back for a 4th entry into his popular run of mummy movies, though it seems that the ship has now sailed on that prospect. Instead, Universal is doing the smart thing and turning to a hot young filmmaker who might be able to breathe some much-needed life into the series with a fresh vision. The filmmaker in question is Lee Cronin, who did a stellar job helming 2023's Evil Dead Rise. His clear eye for moody visuals and knack for horror that's both gnarly and darkly hilarious make him a fine choice for a new Mummy, while he's promised that his take will be quite unlike any we've seen before. Accepting the likelihood that this will be a lower budget affair in the vein of Lee Whannell's recent The Invisible Man and Wolfman, hopefully it will also allow Cronin to go hog wild with an R rating rather than be constrained to PG-13 horror as the 4 previous Mummy movies were. Number 2, Final Destination Bloodlines. Though Final Destination 5 quite brilliantly brought the series to something of a winding conclusion, it's nevertheless hugely surprising that the franchise has remained dormant since 2011. Between the box office success of the 5th film and the ease with which a Final Destination TV series could probably have been sold to a streaming service, the franchise's lengthy quiet period feels like an anomaly in the pantheon of successful horror IP, but is finally due to return this coming May with the 6th movie, Final Destination Bloodlines, which appears to be something of a soft reboot for the series, albeit while retaining the elaborate gory kill sequences fans have come to expect. As groan-inducing as the wildly overused Bloodlines title is, the first trailer certainly suggests that talented filmmakers Zach Lipovsky and Adam Stein have the chops to deliver tense, amusingly over-the-top death scenes. Considering the enduring popularity of the franchise and how endlessly repeatable its central concept is, don't be shocked if Bloodlines is a box office smash that leads to a glut of new Final Destination sequels over the next decade. Number 1, Scary Movie 6. And finally, a comedy horror entry now with the world's most successful parody franchise, Scary Movie. Though the first 3 films are held in decent regard by fans, the 4th and especially 5th Scary Movies have largely been forgotten. Even though Scary Movie 5 still grossed almost $80 million worldwide despite near universal critical scorn, it performed far, far worse commercially than any prior entry, seemingly bringing the franchise to a welcome close. But last April, it was announced that Miramax is developing Scary Movie 6, with original writer-stars Marlon and Sean Wayans collaborating on the script. While it'll require some serious finesse to resurrect the long-dormant franchise in an era where TikTok videos can deliver timely, bite-sized film parodies at a moment's notice, there's clearly a huge wealth of material to make fun of, given the decade plus since the last movie. Plus, original star Regina Hall is keen to return, and if they can get Anna Faris on board too, then this one will basically sell itself.